Hello and welcome back, or if this is your first time here, welcome to Fighting Games Unedited. This is a tutorial series in which I ramble about stuff that has to do with fighting games. There's no script, there's just a couple bullet points, and then really I just talk. Today I want to talk about character specialization, deciding to specialize or diversify. The first thing that is on your mind, probably, if you don't know, is what is a specialist? We've got a couple examples on screen. In the form of Dragon, who specialized in Aquaman. In Injustice 2, Hologram specializes in Thunder and Killer Instinct. Tokido's an Akuma specialist in Street Fighter 5. Tweety possessed Kenshi in Mortal Kombat X. And Rangchu, Panda in Tekken 7. So what is a specialist? Why are all these people listed on this screen right now? What do they do that makes them similar? Well, they all have the distinct detail of focusing on one character. Now, they have been known to play other characters in other fighting games, and or like multiple characters in other fighting games, rather. And sometimes you might see like a character that's not their specialized character come up. But in general, usually specialists focus 99% of their effort on, this one character. And so that concept probably isn't too foreign to you. You may have heard the term loyalist. Loyalist more specifically talks about one specific character. A specialist can sometimes drop a character, start specializing in another character. A loyalist tends to stay on one character no matter what. Rangchu can be classified as a loyalist because he plays the worst character in the game. He doesn't care about Panda being bad. But all loyalists are specialists, not all specialists are loyalists. You get the gist. The purpose of this video, and what this slide is representing, is should you be a specialist? This will hopefully help you decide that. There's a couple concepts that are present that I feel are the most important when being a specialist, for the fact that I've been a specialist basically my entire fighting game career, and so I kind of get some of the caveats. So here they are. Can you overcome bad matchups? Do you work better with one character or multiple, aka specialization, or diversification? That's probably a word. Or would you rather have a plethora of characters at your disposal? And do you like your character? Now, this last one is more of a me thing, but it is a thing that applies to a lot of people. If you don't like your character, it's gonna be hard to want to focus all your time into him. So just keep that in mind. Can you overcome bad matchups? Even though I said, sometimes a specialist will have a pocket or two. Usually one, but maybe two at most. You're still going to have matchups that you need to overcome simply because the inherent nature of a specialist is there will be matchups in which you think are bad matchups, but you don't think are bad enough for you to switch. It's just how that goes sometimes. And so are you willing to overcome those not bad enough to switch matchups, or do you think they are bad enough to switch and therefore you're kind of straying away from the idea of specialization? Do you work better focusing on one character? Because I know players who can just pick up characters and learn them for matchups and be fine, but me personally and other players, other players and me personally, a lot of the time have a little more trouble picking up multiple characters. I've gotten a little better about picking up multiple characters as of late, but really, in order to play them at a high level, it takes me way longer than it should. So I tend to focus on one character. Other people tend to agree. Now that we're kind of discussed the concept of specialization, let's say you've decided, okay, I want to be a specialist. Well, we need to talk about the character that you're playing. For example, do they suck? Are they good? Do they do things you like? Do they do things you suck at? There's a lot of things that you need to ask yourself when you are when you're picking a character that you want to specialize in. For example, if you are playing a strong character, it's not that hard to specialize in that character. Well, you might have one or two bad matchups, you get over them. If they're a weak character, you're gonna have a hell of a lot of a harder time. I should know. We'll go over that in a bit. What are your strengths as a player? So, are you a very offensive player? You should probably have an offensive character that you're specializing in and just really hone in that offense and make it as disgusting as possible. Are you more neutral based? as a player. Well, then you need to have a character that can make the other person basically not want to play the game ever. You need to be with punishing people, etc., etc. Sometimes there's an amalgamation of stuff. Sometimes there's specific tools that you want. You need, and if those tools aren't present, then why aren't you specialized? Why are you specializing in that character? Those kinds of things are very important to take into account. The other thing is, it is easier to specialize, in my opinion, it is easier to specialize in characters that have strong offense rather than strong neutral or defensive capabilities or zoning or whatever. And the reason why is because offense is most of the time very non-matchup specific. You can tend to just smother people out entirely with like mix-ups and whatnot. Frame traps are a different thing. Some characters don't care about certain frame traps. But when I'm talking about offense, usually I tend to mean sort of your robbery potential. If you have a really messed up set play character, you could probably take that character anywhere you want to go in tournament, and you just need one hit. And sometimes that works for people. So that's like another little side thing that I've learned from me being a specialist. That you might want to take into account. Sometimes a good set play character is really all you need, as long as you're good enough with them. The final little note, as I said, mentioning later, me playing bad characters, I'm going to talk about my own experience as a specialist. So, in MKX, I specialized in Killer Leatherface. At the time, I thought he was a terrible character. Nowadays, I think he was like mid-tier. I was kind of bad, at least not nearly as good as I am today. At the time. But I did a thing where I tried to hop in between characters a bunch. This was kind of the moment where I learned that I am more of a specialist than like a hop around characters kind of thing. And but he had really good offense, so it carried me a little bit. Injustice 2, Swamp Thing was lower on the tier list, but that game was more balanced, to be fair. But he was definitely lower on that tier list because he just didn't really compete with a lot of the upper echelon characters. But I played better when I was on him. When I started that game, I didn't play him. And as a result, I actually played worse because Swamp Thing's my favorite DC character, like DC comic character. And he also just has every tool that I could possibly want. He has giant buttons. He has good good mix-up potential, etc., etc. So those are the things that I like. I like big, stupid buttons I don't need to think about with, and I like horribly dumb offense. Those are like the two things that I love doing the most. So when Mortal Kombat 11 came along, I would hop from character to character, focusing on them. Usually I end up playing DLC, which is kind of funny because half of this is DLC, but at least on the screen. But so when RoboCop came out, I specialized with RoboCop, and that might sound weird considering if you know about Mortal Kombat 11, you might know that RoboCop's buttons, except for one or two, are kind of stubby. So why would I pick him? I liked what he was holding. Like, his neutral was really good, and the character was really fun. So, like, that's another thing that you have to consider. But the problem is, RoboCop was a gigantic struggle for me. Because, again, not a very good character. This was the moment when I realized I should be specializing in good characters. And maybe you don't want to, and that's fine. But enter Kotal Khan. Kotal Khan is one of the best characters in MK11 free. And he has giant, obnoxious buttons, horribly disgusting offense. And in general, he just makes your life a living hell. And that brings us to nowadays, where I'm focusing a lot on Killer Instinct. Not completely abandoning Mortal Kombat 11, but I've been focusing a lot on Killer Instinct, and the character I've decided to play is Thunder. And that is because his neutral is very good. The way he presents neutral is a little different than what I'm usually used to, but his neutral is quite good. And his offense is just unmatched. He has some of the dumbest offense I've ever seen on a fighting game character. Overheads, lows, command grabs, ambiguous cross-ups, etc. Character is just ridiculous. And so what I've learned through playing all of these characters, in my own experience as a specialist, is that for me personally, I need a character that's good. I'm going to need a character that's good. I'm tired of playing bad characters. And that might be a thing you need to learn for yourself. You might think, oh, but, I like this character so much that I would rather play him. And that's fine, because when I played Killer Leatherface and Swamp Thing, I was a loyalist. When I played RoboCop, I was a loyalist. When I went to Kotal Khan, I felt as though me dropping RoboCop and going to Kotal Khan essentially turned me into a specialist, because I am totally okay with the if Kotal Khan became a horrible character overnight, I would be totally fine with dropping him at the toss of a hat. Just easy peasy. You should be playing good characters. That is my opinion, of course. Um, but in general, that is like my experience and kind of like my story arc as a specialist. If you care, or if that helped, I hope that helped. So what are my closing thoughts on specialization? I think specialization is a very effective way to become the best with your character, because you are focusing all your time into that character. You start learning every single little nuance of that character to a T. Some people, will not know as many nuances because they're hopping around characters a lot. But most of the time, when you are a specialist, you're going to know every little nuance of both good and bad matchups, which will make your good matchups even better and your bad matchups seem not that bad. I highly recommend you think about being a specialist, because I do think it's potentially the best way to play fighting games, simply because there are some things that you will know with your character that people don't know, and that's very powerful. I hope this video helps. I know it's been a while since I posted one, but I figured with Hologram just recently winning KI Twitch Rivals, like yesterday at the time of this recording, I figured this was a good time to talk about specialization. So I hope this helped. I hope you enjoyed my rambling, and yeah, have a wonderful day.